Claire Morgan was just finishing her night shift at the small-town clinic when the sky turned bright like daylight. The lights blinked, and a low humming sound filled the air. She stepped outside, holding her coat tight against the cold wind. Something was coming down from the sky. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. It was silent now, moving slowly, glowing with soft blue lights. It looked like a silver teardrop falling in slow motion. The thing landed in a field just outside town. Claire's heart beat faster. She had no idea what it was, but something inside her told her to go. She drove quickly, taking the old gravel road that led to Miller's Field. The place was already surrounded by flashing lights. Police cars, firefighters, even a few men in black suits were already there. Claire parked far away and walked through the field, keeping low and quiet. The ship sat in the middle of a large circle of crushed grass. Steam rose from its surface. People stood around it with guns and cameras. Suddenly, a loud hiss came from the ship. A small ramp opened at the bottom, and a figure fell out. People shouted. Guns pointed. But Claire could see the figure was small, weak, and not moving. No one ran forward. They were afraid. Claire didn't think. She ran. Someone shouted at her to stop, but she didn't listen. She reached the figure first. It was a child, or something like a child. Its skin was light blue and smooth. Its hair was silver, and its eyes glowed faintly. Even though they were barely open. It was hurt. Claire saw blood darker than human blood and bruises. The creature was breathing fast, like it was scared. It looked at her, and she felt something deep in her chest. It needed help. She wrapped her coat around it. One of the men in black shouted, but Claire stood up and said, "This is a child. I'm taking it to the clinic." The man stepped forward, holding out a badge. "That's not a child. That's an unknown life form. We're taking it." But the creature grabbed her. Hand. Claire looked him in the eyes. "He's not going anywhere with you." She turned and walked away. Everyone stared. No one stopped her. At the clinic, Claire locked the doors and pulled the blinds. She laid the creature on a cot and cleaned its wounds. She didn't know what kind of medicine it needed, but she did what she could. The creature moaned softly, its body trembling. She whispered, "You're safe now." She stayed by its side all night. It didn't speak, but it looked at her often. Its glowing eyes were full of pain and something else. Trust stopped by. Morning, Claire knew she couldn't keep it at the clinic. People would come looking. She thought of her grandmother's old cabin in the woods. No one had been there in years. She made a plan. First, she called her childhood friend Alex Brooks. He was a quiet man who loved books and spent most of his time teaching science at the local school. He was smart and kind, and she trusted him. "Alex," she said on the phone, "I need your help, and I need you to not ask too many questions." He paused, then said, "Is this about the thing that landed?" "Yes." "I'll be there in 10 minutes. When Alex saw the creature, his eyes went wide, but he didn't step back. Instead, he knelt beside the cot. "It's just a kid," he said softly. They moved fast. Claire packed supplies, and Alex brought his old truck. They covered the windows and drove out of town. The cabin was far enough that no one would hear them. The creature slept most of the way, holding Claire's coat tightly in its arms. That night, in the quiet cabin, Claire made soup and Alex started a fire. The creature woke up and looked around. It sat up slowly. Claire handed it a blanket, and it pulled the soft cloth around itself. "My name is Claire," she said, pointing to herself. Then she pointed to Alex. "This is Alex." The creature looked at them and blinked. Then it touched its chest and said, "Alan." Claire smiled. "Alan, nice to meet you." Alan tilted his head. His voice was soft. "Nice ... meet ... you." Alex let out a slow breath. "He's learning. Fast." Claire looked at Alan and felt a strange warmth in her heart. She didn't know what was coming, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't going to let anything happen to him. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, Claire woke early. The sun was just rising, and the light made the cabin glow softly. Alan was still asleep, curled up in the blanket she had given him. He looked peaceful now, not scared like the night before. She quietly made a cup of tea and sat by the window, thinking. Alex stepped in from outside with a bag of supplies. "No signs of anyone," he said. "But we shouldn't stay too long in one place." Claire nodded. "I know, but we need to understand him. We need to help him." They both looked at Alan. He slowly opened his eyes and sat up. His eyes blinked in the morning light. He looked around, then at Claire and Alex. He seemed calm. Claire sat on the floor near him. She pointed to herself and said, "Claire, she did the same for Alex. Alex." Then she pointed to him. He touched his chest gently. Alan. Claire smiled. She picked up a small notepad and drew a picture of a house. She pointed to the picture and said, "Home." Alan stared at the drawing. His eyes softened. He took the pen from her and drew something shapes and lines that looked like a star and a round object. He pointed up. "Your home?" Alex asked. Alan nodded. Claire's heart hurt a little. He missed his home. He was just a child, lost on a strange planet. She gently touched his shoulder. "We'll help you. We'll find your home." Alex began bringing in books and his old laptop. He tried showing Alan images, stars, maps, different languages. Alan watched closely. When he saw pictures of space, he pointed quickly and said words in his own language. It was soft and musical, like singing. "Do you think he understands us?" Claire asked. "Some of it," Alex said. "He learns fast, but he thinks differently. We need to teach him, but we also need to listen." They started using pictures and simple words. Claire showed him a photo of a family. Alan stared at it for a long time. Then he drew a circle with smaller dots around it. He tapped one dot. "Himself, his family," Claire whispered. "He's trying to tell us something." Every day, they spent hours teaching and learning. Alan picked up more words. He said simple things like water, cold, light, and safe. He also started to smile more. Claire noticed he laughed when she read him a story at night, even if he didn't understand all the words. One evening, as they sat near the fire, Claire handed Alan a small cloth doll. "I made this," she said. "It's yours." Alan held it close. His eyes shone, not just with light, but with feeling. "Gift?" he asked. "Yes, gift," she said, smiling. Later that night, while Alan slept, Alex looked at Claire. "This can't last forever. They're looking for him, for us too." "I know," Claire said, "but I can't leave him. He needs us." Outside, a low sound moved through the trees. A helicopter in the far distance. They knew it was only a matter of time. The next morning, Claire looked through the news on Alex's laptop. There were reports about the object that landed. The government had blocked most information, but people were asking questions. Some believed it was a meteor. Others spoke of an alien. A new report caught Claire's eye. "Unknown life form escaped from government site. Armed forces begin search." "They know he's missing," Alex said. "They'll come here soon." Claire's face went pale. She looked at Alan, who was playing quietly with the doll. "We have to move." Today, they packed quickly. Alan didn't understand why, but he followed Claire and Alex without question. He trusted them. As they drove deeper into the woods, Claire looked at Alan in the mirror. He was looking out the window, whispering soft words in his own language. Claire wished she could understand him better. She wanted to tell him everything. Would be okay. They stopped at a small cave near a stream. It was well hidden. Alex had found it years ago while hiking. They made a fire and waited. That night, Claire sat beside Alan. He leaned against her shoulder and yawned. She whispered, "You're not alone. We're here with you." Alan looked up at her, his eyes glowing softly. "Family," he said. Claire smiled, even as her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, family." No one spoke after that. The stars shone above, and the night was quiet. For a little while, they were just three souls under the same sky, holding on to hope. The forest was quiet, but Claire could feel something in the air. The cold wind moved through the trees, and dry leaves rustled around their feet. She walked slowly beside Alex, while Alan held tightly to her hand. They had been walking for hours. Far from roads, far from people, they reached the abandoned ranger cabin just before sunset. It was old but strong. The roof still held, and the walls were thick. Alex broke open the rusty lock, and they stepped inside. Dust floated in the light, and the smell of old wood filled the air. "This will work," Claire said, looking around. Alex nodded. Better than a cave. They cleared out the space quickly. Claire laid out blankets while Alex started a small fire in the old stove. Alan sat in the corner watching them. He didn't speak much during the walk, but now he seemed calm. Claire took out some food and handed Alan a piece of bread. He sniffed it first, then slowly ate it. He looked up and gave a small smile. Claire smiled back. They all sat around the fire that night. Claire told a story, one her mother used to tell her. It was about a small bird that got lost during winter and found its way back home. Alan didn't understand every word, but he watched her face closely. He listened to her voice. When she finished, he looked into the fire and whispered, "Home. Soon?" Claire touched his shoulder gently. "We'll try." The next day, Alex worked on the strange device Alan had carried since the beginning. It was a small round object with glowing lines and shifting lights. Alan never let it go, but today he gave it to Alex. Alex sat at the table, tools spread around him. He turned the device slowly, watching the lights. "It's not broken," he said, "but it's not just a beacon. It's a map. I think it shows stars." Claire leaned over. "Can we read it?" "Maybe, but we'll need time and power." They used the old car battery Alex had brought to power the device. When it lit up fully, a small image floated in the air above it, a star map showing paths and points of light. Alan stepped forward and touched one point. It turned bright. "That's where he's from," Alex said. Alan nodded slowly. "Viren," Claire said the word softly. "Viren," Alan smiled. "Yes, Viren." The map also showed a blinking red line, moving toward Earth. Claire frowned. "Is that us?" "I think so," Alex said. "Maybe it's a signal. Or maybe someone is coming." They spent the day trying to learn more. Alan showed them symbols and sounds. Claire wrote them down. They created a kind of dictionary, simple words they could use. Alan was a fast learner, and he liked drawing. He drew pictures of his home, a tall city of glass, 2 suns in the sky, and flying ships. That night, they sat outside under the stars. Claire looked up and said, "Do you miss them?" Alan nodded. "Mother, father, sister." Claire wrapped a blanket around him. "You'll see them again." Alan looked at her. "You, like mother." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She pulled him into a hug. "Thank you." Inside, Alex kept working with the device. He found a second signal, hidden deep inside it. "There's a message," he said. "Not just a map." They played the message. A soft voice filled the cabin, speaking in Alan's language. Alan's eyes widened. He stood up quickly. "What is it?" Claire asked. Alan spoke slowly, searching for the words. "Call. Help. We ... crash. Find me." Alex nodded. "It's a distress call." His ship was sending it before it crashed. Claire looked at them both. Then someone might be looking for him. Or someone else might find it first, Alex said. Claire stood up. "We need to send that message again, from a stronger signal." "Somewhere high." Alex looked at the map again. "There's an old tower near the hills. I saw it on the drive. If we can reach it, maybe we can send the message out properly." They made the plan for the next day. Claire watched Alan sleep that night, curled in his blanket. She knew danger was close. She could feel it in the air, But she also knew something else. She would do anything to protect him. Even if the whole world was against her. Outside, the stars kept shining. Far above, someone else might have seen the signal. Someone might already be on the way. And deep in the woods, 3 lives waited for what would come next. The next morning, the air was cold and quiet. Claire packed food and blankets while Alex checked the device. Owen helped, carrying a small bag on his back. They were going to the old tower. Alex remembered. It was risky, but they had no choice. They had to send the message again. Alan's people needed to know he was alive. They walked for hours, following a narrow path through the trees. The forest grew thicker, the hills steeper. Owen stayed close to Claire, his hand often in hers. He didn't complain. He was stronger. Now, his eyes looked ahead with quiet hope. Finally, they saw the tower. It stood on top of a hill, rusty and old, but still reaching toward the sky. It had once been used for radio signals. Now it looked forgotten. Weeds grew at the base, and the stairs were covered in moss. Alex looked up. It might still work, if we can power it. Claire nodded. Let's try. They climbed the stairs slowly. At the top, the wind was strong. The view showed miles of forest and sky. Alex opened the panel on the tower. Inside were wires and controls, dusty but not broken. He connected the small alien device to the tower's old system. The lights blinked. A soft hum filled the air. It's working, Alex said. Alan stepped forward and touched the device. His fingers moved over the symbols. A soft light came from it. The message played again, this time louder, stronger. Claire watched him. Can they hear you now? Alan nodded. Yes, far. Now. Suddenly they heard a sound in the distance. A low thumping, like footsteps or machines. Alex looked through a small scope. Vehicles, coming fast. Government trucks. Claire felt her heart drop. They found us. They grabbed the device and started down the stairs. But it was too late. Trucks stopped near the base of the hill. Men in uniforms began to spread out. Some carried weapons. Alex led them into the trees. They ran, moving fast through the brush. Alan was scared but didn't cry. Claire held his hand tightly. They made it to a small stream and crossed it. Behind them, voices shouted. Dogs barked. We have to split up, Alex said. I'll lead them away. You take Alan. No, Claire said. It's too dangerous. I'll be okay. Go. Claire didn't want to, but there was no time. She hugged Alex quickly. Be safe. Then she turned and ran with Alan, deeper into the woods. Found a small cave hidden by rocks. Claire pulled Alan inside and covered the entrance with branches. They sat in silence, listening. The sounds grew softer, then faded. Claire looked at Alan. His face was pale, his eyes full of fear. She put her arm around him. It's okay. We're safer now. Alan leaned against her. They don't like me. Claire shook her head. They're scared, but not everyone is like that. He looked up. You're not scared. No, she said, because I know you. You're kind. You're brave. Alan closed his eyes and rested. Claire stayed awake, thinking. The message had been sent, but what would happen now? Would someone come to help, or would the danger only grow? That night, they returned to the ranger cabin. Alex was already there. Tired but safe. They chased me, but I lost them near the river, he said. We need to be careful now. Claire hugged him tightly. You did good. They checked the device. The signal was still strong, but something had changed. A new light blinked. Alan touched it and smiled. They answer, he said. They hear me. Claire felt a wave of relief. Your people, yes, they come. Alex looked at the map. But not yet. Maybe days. Claire nodded. Then we wait. We stay hidden. They spent the next few days quietly. Claire cooked simple meals. Alex watched the forest for movement. Alan drew pictures. He seemed more peaceful now. He laughed more. He even tried telling stories of his own, using simple words and pictures. One evening, as the sun went down, Claire sat with Alan by the fire. "Are you scared?" She shook his head. "You here, not scared." She smiled and hugged him. "I'm here, always." The stars appeared above them. Somewhere out there, a ship was coming. Claire hoped it would arrive before the people chasing them did. But whatever happened next, she knew one thing. They had become a family, and she would protect that family with all her heart. Claire and Alex had barely settled after their capture when the atmosphere around them changed. Guards moved quickly, voices grew tense. They were taken separately, each questioned about the alien child and their actions. Alan was held in a small, quiet room. He looked lost and frightened. Claire's heart ached for him. She wanted to reach through the walls and hold him close. She whispered his name in her mind, hoping he could feel her care even from far away. Major Dennis Graves paced in his office. He had been watching Claire carefully. He admired her courage but worried about the risks. The orders were clear, contained. The situation, no exceptions. But something in Claire's quiet strength made him hesitate. He thought of his own daughter and how he would want someone to protect her if she were lost in a strange place. One day, Claire asked to meet Alan. After much debate, Major Graves agreed under tight security. When Claire entered the room, Alan's eyes lit up. He reached out, and she took his trembling hand. "I'm here," Claire said softly. "You're not alone." Alan's voice was small but clear. "Mother Heart," Claire felt tears well up. "Yes, Alan, I'm here for you." Back in the interrogation room, Claire spoke to Major Graves about fear and trust. "If we let fear control us, we lose what makes us human," she said. "Alan is not our enemy," Graves sighed. "Your words are wise, but orders come from above." That night, Claire lay awake. She worried for Alan, for Alex, and for what the future held. Suddenly, the building shook. Alarms blared. Soldiers rushed past her door. "Something's happening," she whispered. She heard footsteps and hurried voices. Major Graves returned, face grim. "The government plans to take Alan away. We must act quickly." Claire and Alex shared a look. They knew what had to be done. With help from a conflicted guard who believed in Claire's cause, they made a daring escape plan under cover of darkness. Claire, Alex, and Alan slipped away from the facility. The forest welcomed them once more, breathing in the cool night air. Claire held the small blanket she had made for Alan. It had become a symbol of hope. Alan looked up at the stars. "Home," he whispered. Claire smiled, her hand shaking. We'll find it." Together, they disappeared into the night, their bond stronger than ever. The sky was full of stars that night. Claire sat on the cabin steps, watching the sky, listening to the soft sounds of the forest. Alan was asleep inside, holding his blanket close. Alex sat beside her, quiet. "He's changed a lot," Alex said. Claire nodded. "He trusts us, and I trust him." Alex looked at the sky. "I hope they come soon. We're running out of time." The next morning, the sound of a loud engine woke them. A small ship, smooth and silver, appeared above the trees. It moved slowly, then stopped in the air above the clearing. A soft blue light came from its bottom side. Claire stood frozen. Alan stepped out of the cabin, rubbing his eyes. When he saw the ship, he dropped his blanket and ran forward. "Wait," Claire said, but stopped when she saw the look on his face. The ship opened. A small ramp came down, and two tall figures stepped out. They looked like olive blue skin, silver eyes, but older. One wore a robe with small glowing symbols. The other had a gentle face. Both looked at Alan with joy. Alan ran to them and hugged them. They knelt and wrapped their arms around him. Claire felt her throat tighten. Alex whispered, "His family." The older one stood and looked at Claire and Alex. He spoke in Alan's language, and Alan turned. "They thank you," Alan said, slowly. "You saved me. You care." Claire stepped forward. "We did what we had to. We love you." Alan looked at her, then said something to the taller figure. The figure nodded and touched the device on his arm. A new voice spoke in English. "We are the Viren. This child is our heart. You show great kindness. Earth is now remembered as a place of mercy." Claire smiled through her tears. "We only wanted to help." The tall figure stepped back and opened his hand. In it was a soft, glowing crystal. He gave it to Claire. "This is a memory crystal. It will show our story, and your place in it." Alex took out his notebook. "Will there be more contact?" "Yes," the voice said. "This is not the end." Alan looked between his people and Claire. He stepped forward and hugged her tightly. "You are Mother Heart," he whispered. Claire held him close. "You'll always be in my heart." Alan pulled back. "One moment." He went inside the cabin and returned with the blanket Claire had given him. He wrapped it around his shoulders. Then he stepped up the ramp. Claire wiped her eyes. The ramp closed slowly. The ship lifted into the sky, then disappeared into the stars. She stood there, silent. Alex stood beside her. "He's safe now," Alex said. Claire nodded. "Yes, but I miss him already." Alex looked at the crystal. "He'll remember you, and now maybe the stars will too." That night, Claire sat by the fire, holding the crystal. Images floated above it. Alan's world, his people, his journey. Her face appeared beside his, surrounded by light. She smiled. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew this. She had made a difference, and she would never forget him. The night was very quiet after the shuttle left. Claire stood in the clearing, looking up at the stars. The sky seemed bigger now, full of new hope and old memories. She held the edge of her coat and felt the place where Alan had hugged her last. Alex stood beside her, silent. He did not know what to say. Claire's face was wet with tears, but she was not sad. Her heart felt full. She knew she had done the right thing. Days passed slowly after Alan left. Claire went back to her small house in town. It felt empty and quiet. Sometimes she looked at the sky and thought of Alan. She wondered if he was safe. She wondered if he missed her. People in town started asking questions. They had seen the strange lights. Some had heard about the alien child on the news, but no one believed it was true. Claire kept her story secret. She only shared it when Alex. Alex visited often. He brought food, books, and stories. They talked about Alan and the Viren. Sometimes they laughed. Sometimes they just sat quietly remembering. One cold morning, Claire found the blanket she had made for Alan. He had left it on her porch, neatly folded. There was a note with it, written in careful English. It said, "I'll never forget you. Thank you for family." Claire's hand shook as she picked up the blanket. She pressed it to her face and closed her eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks. But she smiled. Alex came by that day and saw the blanket. "You remembered," he said softly. Claire nodded. He remembered. From that day, Claire felt something had changed. She saw the world differently. People seemed kinder. Some families came together and helped each other more. News spread about a nurse who had cared for a lost child. Some guessed the truth, but most just called her brave. The government sent people to talk to Claire and Alex. They wanted answers. Major Graves came by once. He was quiet, and he thanked Claire for her courage. "You helped more than you know," he told her. "You showed us that kindness can reach farther than fear." Claire thanked him and said nothing more. As weeks passed, strange things happened in the night sky. More lights appeared. Some said it was just satellites. Others believed something more. Claire and Alex knew. They smiled at each other every time a new light appeared. One evening, as the sun set, Claire sat on her porch with the blanket on her lap. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "I'll never forget you, Alan." She knew her life would never be the same. She felt proud of what she had done, and she felt hope for the world. Maybe one day, humans and Viren would meet again. Alex joined her on the porch. He sat beside her, and they watched the sky together. They didn't need to talk. They just watched, waiting, hoping, and dreaming Dot in a far corner of the universe. Alan looked at the same stars. He held a small doll Claire had made for him. He whispered her name and smiled. He was safe. He was home. And he would never forget.